Everyone knows.
It's everywhere.
You can't stop it!
They're sharing it.
If someone ever tells you they want to change the fundamental rules of your relationship, but only in a way that benefits them while you get nothing, run. Because that's exactly what my wife tried to do when she announced she wanted an open marriage, but expected me to remain monogamous while she slept with other people. And the way this all unfolded showed me exactly who I'd been married to for the past 7 years. So, I'm a 36-year-old man, and I've been with my wife Jennifer for 9 years, married for 7, and up until about 4 months ago, I genuinely thought we had a solid marriage. We rarely fought, we had good careers, we owned a nice house together, and while things weren't perfect, they were comfortable and stable, or at least that's what I believed. About 4 months ago, Jennifer started acting different. She was on her phone constantly and being really secretive about it. She started dressing up more, even for casual outings. She joined a gym and was going there for hours at a time, and she seemed distant and distracted whenever we were together. And I initially thought maybe she was stressed about work or going through something personal that she'd tell me about when she was ready. Then one Saturday morning, Jennifer sat me down and said she needed to talk about something important. And she had this whole speech prepared about how she'd been doing a lot of thinking about our marriage and our relationship, and she felt like we'd fallen into a rut and she needed something more to feel fulfilled. And I figured she was going to suggest we take a trip or go to couples counseling or something reasonable like that. Instead, Jennifer said she wanted us to open our marriage, and at first I thought she meant both of us would be able to see other people. And while that wasn't something I was interested in at all, I at least understood it as a concept. But then she clarified that she wanted to be able to date and sleep with other people while I remained faithful to her, and I literally thought I'd misheard her. I asked her to repeat what she just said, and she said it again, that she wanted an open marriage where she had the freedom to explore connections with other people, but she needed me to stay committed to only her, because the idea of me being with someone else made her uncomfortable, and I just stared at her trying to process the absolute insanity of what she was proposing. I asked her why she thought this was a reasonable ask, and she said she'd been reading about ethical non-monogamy, and she realized she was polyamorous and needed multiple romantic and sexual connections to feel whole, but she was possessive by nature and couldn't handle the thought of sharing me, so she needed me to remain monogamous while she explored her polyamorous identity. I told her that wasn't how any of this worked, that you can't be polyamorous for yourself while demanding your partner be monogamous. That's just cheating with permission, and she got really defensive and said I was being closed-minded and not respecting her newly discovered identity. I asked her if there was someone specific she wanted to see, and she hesitated before admitting that she'd been developing feelings for a guy at her gym named Ryan, and they'd been spending a lot of time together, and she wanted to explore where that connection could go without having to end our marriage, and that's when it clicked that this wasn't about her discovering polyamory. This was about her wanting to cheat on me guilt-free. I told Jennifer absolutely not. There was no universe where I was going to agree to sit at home being faithful while she went out on dates and slept with other men. And if she wanted to be with this Ryan guy, then she could divorce me and be with him, and she started crying and saying I was being unreasonable and controlling. She said that plenty of couples have arrangements like this and it works for them, and I asked her to name one couple where one person gets to sleep around while the other stays faithful by the first person's demand, and she couldn't name anyone, and I said, exactly, Jennifer, because that's not a real relationship dynamic, that's just you wanting to have your cake and eat it too. Jennifer spent the next few days trying to convince me using every argument she could think of. She said our sex life had gotten boring and she needed variety, but she didn't want to lose the stability and security I provided. She said I was being selfish by not letting her explore this part of herself. She even suggested that maybe I could watch her with other men, if that would make me feel more included, and every conversation made me more disgusted and angry. I asked her point blank if she'd already slept with Ryan, and she swore she hadn't, that she'd been faithful, and that's why she was asking permission now before anything physical happened. But I didn't believe her because the way she talked about him and the amount of time they'd apparently been spending together suggested this had already crossed physical boundaries. I told Jennifer I needed some time to think, and I went to stay with my brother for a few days. And while I was there, I really processed what was happening, and I realized that even if Jennifer backed down and said she didn't want the open marriage anymore, our relationship was already over because she'd shown me exactly how little she respected me and our marriage. When I came back home, I told Jennifer I wanted a divorce, and she completely broke down and said she didn't want a divorce. She wanted to stay married. She just also wanted the freedom to see other people. And I told her those two things were mutually exclusive for me and she needed to choose. She asked if I'd consider letting her just see Ryan casually while staying married to me, and I said, "No, Jennifer, I'm not going to be your safety net while you have an affair." And she said it wouldn't be an affair if I gave permission, and I said, "I'm not giving permission, I'm giving you divorce papers." Jennifer then switched tactics and got angry, saying I was throwing away 7 years of marriage without even trying to work on it, and I told her there was nothing to work on. She wanted to fundamentally change our relationship in a way that only benefited her, and I wasn't interested, and that wasn't something we could compromise on. She accused me of being vanilla and boring and said this was why she needed someone like Ryan who was more adventurous and open-minded, and I told her, "Great then, go be with Ryan. But you can't keep me as your faithful husband while you do it." And she started crying again and saying she loved me and didn't want to lose me. I moved out the next day and got a lawyer, and when Jennifer realized I was serious about the divorce, she started telling people that we were separating because I was controlling and wouldn't let her have friends, completely leaving out the part about wanting an open marriage, and some of our mutual friends reached out to me confused about what was happening. I told everyone the truth, that Jennifer had asked for a one-sided open marriage where she could sleep with other people while demanding I stay faithful. And reactions were pretty split, with some people saying that was completely insane and they supported my decision to leave, while others said I should have been more open-minded and tried to make it work. Jennifer's best friend actually called me to say that I was being unreasonable and that Jennifer had needs that I wasn't meeting, and I should be grateful she was asking permission instead of just cheating, and I told her that asking permission to cheat doesn't make it not cheating, and I hung up on her. The divorce process has been messy because Jennifer keeps flip-flopping between saying she wants to work things out and being angry that I'm not fighting for our marriage. And her version of working things out always involves me agreeing to some version of her original proposal where she gets freedom and I get to stay home waiting for her. My lawyer has been great about keeping things moving forward despite Jennifer's attempts to delay everything, and we're working on dividing assets, which is complicated because we own the house together and we have some joint investments, and Jennifer keeps trying to use the financial stuff as leverage to get me to reconsider the divorce. I found out through mutual friends that Jennifer did end up dating Ryan once I moved out, and apparently it lasted all of 2 weeks before he dumped her because he was just looking for something casual, and Jennifer wanted a serious relationship while staying married, and when he found out she was married, he got uncomfortable and ended things. Jennifer called me crying about the Ryan situation and said she'd made a huge mistake and she wanted to work on our marriage for real this time, and I told her that ship had sailed the moment she proposed her one-sided open marriage, and she said she was just confused and going through something and she never should have suggested it. I asked her if she only wanted to get back together because Ryan rejected her, and she insisted that wasn't it. She'd realized she loved me and wanted our marriage, but I pointed out that she'd only come to this realization after her attempt to keep me as backup while dating someone else had failed. She begged me to go to counseling with her, and I agreed to go to one session just to hear her out, and the therapist was actually great about calling out how inappropriate and unreasonable Jennifer's proposal had been, and Jennifer got defensive and said the therapist was taking my side, and I told her, "No, Jennifer, the therapist is just explaining basic relationship boundaries to you." During that counseling session, Jennifer finally admitted that she'd been emotionally cheating with Ryan for months before she brought up the open marriage. They'd been texting constantly and going to lunch and having these deep conversations, and she'd developed strong feelings for him before ever telling me about it. And the open marriage proposal was her way of trying to legitimize what had already been happening. I felt vindicated hearing her admit that because it confirmed everything I'd suspected, she hadn't suddenly discovered she was polyamorous. She'd just caught feelings for someone else and wanted permission to pursue it while keeping me around for security and stability. The therapist asked Jennifer why she thought I should stay faithful to her while she explored other relationships, and Jennifer said she was afraid that if I dated other people, I'd find someone better and leave her, and the therapist pointed out that was exactly what she was doing to me, and Jennifer didn't have a response to that. After that session, I told Jennifer I was definitely going through with the divorce, and there was nothing she could say to change my mind. And she got angry and said I was giving up on us without really trying, and I told her I gave her 7 years of monogamous, faithful marriage, and she threw it away the moment she developed feelings for someone else. Jennifer has been posting vague things on social media about betrayal and how some people give up when relationships get hard, and her friends and family who don't know the full story have been commenting supportive things while some of my friends who know what actually happened have been calling her out in the comments. Her parents called me to ask what happened because Jennifer had told them we were divorcing but hadn't explained why, and I told them the whole story about the one-sided open marriage proposal, and they were horrified and said they didn't raise her to treat people that way, and they actually apologized to me, which was unexpected but appreciated. Jennifer apparently got upset that I told her parents the truth and said I was trying to turn her family against her. And I said, "No, Jennifer, your actions turned them against you. I just stopped covering for you with a vague explanation. The divorce should be finalized in about 2 months, and honestly, I can't wait for it to be over so I can completely move on from this situation. And I've already started casually dating again, which Jennifer found out about through social media, and she sent me this long message about how I'd moved on so quickly and clearly never really loved her, and I didn't even respond because the irony was too much. I've had a lot of time to think about our entire relationship, and I've realized there were probably signs that Jennifer was selfish and entitled that I missed or ignored. Little things like her always expecting me to accommodate her schedule or preferences, or the way she'd pout when she didn't get her way. But I wrote those off as minor personality quirks rather than seeing them as red flags. My friends have been incredibly supportive through all of this, and several of them have said they never really liked Jennifer but didn't want to say anything while we were married. And I appreciate their honesty now, even though I wish someone had said something earlier. I've also learned a lot about open relationships and ethical non-monogamy through this experience. And I've realized that what Jennifer proposed wasn't either of those things. Actual ethical non-monogamy is based on consent and equality and communication, not one person dictating terms that only benefit them while their partner has to follow completely different rules. I've talked to people who are in actual open relationships and polyamorous arrangements, and every single one of them has said that Jennifer's proposal was manipulative and unfair and not representative of how these relationships actually work, and several of them said I was right to walk away because that dynamic would have destroyed me. Looking back, I'm actually grateful Jennifer showed me who she really was before we had kids or were together any longer, because I can't imagine how much worse this would have been if we'd had children who had to watch their mother treat their father like a doormat. And I'm relieved we never got to that point. The hardest part of all of this has been accepting that the person I thought I knew and loved for 9 years wasn't real. That Jennifer was either always this selfish and entitled and I just didn't see it, or she changed into this person over time, and either way, the woman I fell in love with doesn't exist anymore if she ever did. I'm doing okay now, though. I've got my own apartment that I really like. I'm enjoying being single and figuring out who I am outside of that marriage, and I'm actually excited about my future in a way I haven't been in years, and I realize now that I'd been feeling stuck and unfulfilled in the marriage too, but I'd been ignoring it. Jennifer has apparently started therapy on her own, and according to mutual friends, she's claiming she's working on herself and learning from her mistakes. But I don't really care what she's doing because it's not my problem anymore, and whatever growth she experiences now is too late for our marriage. I've been asked a few times if I'd ever consider giving her another chance if she really changed and proved she was different, and my answer is absolutely not, because even if she became a completely different person, the trust is gone, and I could never forget that she valued some guy from the gym more than our 7-year marriage. So that's my story of how my wife asked for a one-sided open marriage and destroyed our relationship in the process. And honestly, I'm better off without her, even though the divorce has been painful and messy. Now I want to hear from you. If your partner came to you and said they wanted to see other people but expected you to stay faithful, what would you do? Would you try to make it work, or would you walk away like I did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'm curious how other people would handle this situation, and if this story was as wild to you as it was to live through. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future relationship drama stories, and give this video a like if you think I made the right call. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.